on villains. That is what we are talking about today, literally. When those who decide to do bad decide it's even better together, shacking up with other villains, falling in love, and even sometimes creating their own villainous little family unit. Join me and let's get counting. Number 10. Corvus, Glaive, and Proxima Midnight. If you're a fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe or the MCU, you may have missed this slight but important detail. Thanos' loyal servants and members of the Black Order, Corvus, Glaive, and Proxima Midnight, are actually in a romantic relationship with one another. And not only that, but they happen to be pretty happily married. Corvus, Glaive, and Proxima Midnight first stepped on the scene in the comics with the rest of the Black Order in 2013, and straight out of the gate they were established as a married couple. I love when two badass villains can find one another and basically become an epic power couple. It's a weird, work-related relationship that I think happens to be great. Both have boasted of one another's powers and skills as a fighter and tactician, and whenever one gets into a fight or into trouble, the other is usually not too far behind. Talia al Ghul and Bane. While this one never went super far in the comics, Bane and Talia were at the very least engaged. And in fact, Bane was head over heels in love with the head of the demon's daughter. This all happened during the story Legacy, where Bane was inducted into Ra's al Ghul's League of Assassins. Raish saw potential in Bane and believed that he could be the heir he'd been so often searching for, especially considering his first pick, Batman, refused Ra's al Ghul's offer to become his inheritor. To solidify this, Raish offered Talia's hand, and Bane and Talia were engaged. However, after Batman defeated Bane in combat, Talia had grounds to break off the engagement, as it was proven that Bane was basically not worthy of her. Something she was really happy about, as she never liked Bane to begin with, but that left Bane brokenhearted. And friends, before we move on to this next spot, if you are loving this list and you are loving when villains get love from other villains, be sure to let us know by giving this video a thumbs up. Number 8. Emma Frost and Sebastian Shaw. While they might be more enemies who are forced to work with one another currently in the comics, there was a time when they were lovers. Or at least a time when Emma saw the value in flattering Sebastian by lavishing him with attention. It was implied that they were lovers, at the very least. This was back in Emma's Hellfire Club days, so back when she herself was a villain, as was Shaw at the time. And although Krakoa is a place for all mutants and provides another chance for many mutant villains to redeem themselves, I would still consider Shaw to be a villain even today. Even in the comics right now, I think he's a villain. During their Hellfire days, while Emma did not always like the way Shaw treated her, she recognized that he was a powerful ally. Because of this, she would often accept his compliments and even actively flirt with him. Although I don't think their relationship was ever fully confirmed, it was definitely implied. In issue 152, when Shaw is defeated during his and Emma's body swap with Storm scheme, Emma even seems saddened to see him hurt and declares that the Hellfire Club is nothing without Shaw. Number 7. Penguin and Riddler. In the live-action series Gotham, these two have a complicated relationship. They became friends after Edward Nygma rescued Oswald Cobblepot, nursing him back to health after he was left for dead. As their bond of friendship grew over time, Oswald began to realize that he was in love with Edward. This caused Oswald to kill Nygma's girlfriend at the time, Isabella, whom Ed was in love with. When Ed discovered how his friend had betrayed him and learned this was because Penguin was in love with him, Nygma swore revenge on his once best friend. While the two have gotten into all kinds of trouble together and also caused one another a lot of pain in this show, they also have shown that they care about one another a great deal, and often find it hard to go on without the other. It might not always be out in the open, but it's clear that there is definitely some romantic energy and sexual tension between these two, more often than not. Number 6. Dr. Doom and Morgan Le Fay. A couple that weirdly makes a lot of sense, despite how many problems they ran into with one another. Both Morgan Le Fay and Dr. Doom are known for their unstoppable level of power, and both have ties to the mystical realm. Although I personally think of Dr. Doom primarily as a schemer and a brainiac, he is also deeply entrenched in the world of magic and mysticism, recognizing the power that it brings. As such, Doom decided to travel to the past and seek out Morgan Le Fay to become his teacher. She became more than that though, and would also become his lover. However, when he refused to bring her a token of affection via an object from the future, the love affair and magic lessons quickly came to an abrupt halt. Morgan became suspicious of Doom and decided she was just gonna try and kill him. She was unsuccessful there, but did successfully manage to break things off with Doom, and vice versa with her murder attempt. Number 5. Killer Croc and Enchantress. The Suicide Squad is like the place at DC Comics where weird supervillain power couples are born, and these two are no exception. For Killer Croc Croc and Enchantress, they very much found a connection via the fact that they both feel like monsters in their own bodies. Killer Croc's monstrous nature and outward appearance being the part of himself that he struggles with the most, whereas June Moon's connection to the Enchantress, that monster sort of within her, making her feel about the same. Initially we thought June, despite bonding with Croc, might be in trouble during power outages and mind-altering shenanigans at Belle Reve. Both June and Croc got out of their cells, and it seemed, despite saying that he really didn't want to, the Croc was ready to eat June. However, it turned out the supposed bite was just a love bite, and the two ended up in a steamy moment of passion instead. Number 4. Thanos and Hela. I mean, it makes a lot of sense when you think about it. Hela is like the Norse embodiment of death and is also the ruler of hell, so these two seem to be kind of a match made in heaven. Or I guess a match made in hell? Especially as Thanos is generally shown to be in love with death herself. Hela could easily itch that scratch for him. She's basically another form of death. Not sure what is really in it for Hela though. I guess power is a pretty good motivator, right? If you want to be in a villain relationship, you're probably both like, I like power, you got power, I got power, let's hook up. In this instance, Hela turned to Thanos for help initially and had to prove herself to him in order to win his favor. When Thanos was killed, Hela was pretty much leading the charge when it came to resurrecting Thanos and bringing him back to life. While in the end, this didn't really work out and both of them disappeared into a black hole, it seems as though Hela didn't actually need to be so worried to begin with. As it turns out, Thanos can kind of be resurrected like other Eternals. Thanos later would appear in Eternals after being retrieved and patched back up. But I won't spoil that if you haven't read that series yet. Also, by the way, we're talking about the newest Eternals comic, which you should read because it's great. Hela, on the other hand, has also since returned, being trapped in the black hole for a while before she finally escaped. Since their return, the two have seemingly not gotten back together. Number 3. Orca and Killer Croc. They're both monsters, I guess, or they both feel like monsters, but otherwise these two seem like a pretty unlikely couple. The reason why you might not know about these two is that they're actually together in the alternate universe that belongs to Injustice. Here, they don't just have a one-night stand or simply are kinda romantic with one another, they get full-on married in this universe and also conceive a child together. And surprisingly enough, although it is a bit of an odd ship, these two were actually well received and have a pretty solid fan base amongst Injustice readers. Number 2. Enchantress and Keep. This romance only lasted a few issues and I'm not sure we ever even found out what became of Keep. I don't know what Keep's up to now, or if they still exist. What we do know is that he was a monster created by the Enchantress to join her in the fight against Thor, and also maybe to be her lover? Because Keep is her creation and therefore also kind of like her son. It's really weird that he also ends up becoming her lover, and it seems like she may have also designed him for this purpose? It was a strange time. But we don't have to think too hard about it now, at least, because as I said, we haven't seen Keep and Enchantress together for quite a while. Number 1. Darkseid and Granny Goodness. Although to be clear, this wasn't any kind of romantic hookup, so if you were hoping for that to happen between these two, no. More a hookup that was used as leverage for power. Granny Goodness in fact was coerced into a physical relationship with Darkseid in order to maintain her status and win more of Darkseid's favor. Don't worry though, this isn't a thing in the main continuity if you're worried about it. It's just a thing in the limited series that exists outside of the main continuity, known simply as Female Furies from 2019. That series examines a potential world where female Furies are more stereotyped and discriminated against because they are women, despite them being capable warriors who have, proven their mettle in battle. Fortunately, this is not the vibe on Apocalypse that we get in the main continuity. Darkseid might be evil, but he doesn't appear to be sexist, so there's that. What villain-on-villain love affairs do you find the most surprising? What villain-on-villain romances do you ship? Are there any other unexpected villain romances that you'd like to see us dive into on a potential part 2 to this list? Let us know in the comments below. This has been Top 10 Nerd, and I am your host Amanda McKnight. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, stay nerdy, YouTube.